Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Surya Prakash Upadhyay from Indian Institute of Technology, Mandi. Today we are going to talk on module Urban Religions from the paper Sociology of Urban Transformations. So after completing this module, you should be able to understand the varieties and forms in which religion exists and function in urban environment. The module discusses how religion was conceived by modernists in the light of the idea of secularization. The module further explores how religion and urban transformation are mutually connected and shaped in the age of globalization. Lastly, it throws light on the emerging forms of religious and spiritual practices and faith communities and how religion intertwines with commercial culture and media technologies. So, what are the forms in which religion operates in the society? Anyone who is interested to explore this simple question has to just walk down on the streets in any city, and you would observe a variety of ways in which religion exists in the society, in the city. You would see that almost every street or corner has some or other religious place. For example, temples, mosques, and so on. Sometimes a religious place may come in the middle of the road and city municipalities struggle to displace it. In fact, religious places and methods of land encroachment are clearly visible in most of the cities in India. On select dates, these religious places are full of people who come to offer prayer. The people form a community of believers and develop social bondings that are tied around these religious places. Similarly, you switch on your television and browse the channels. You would see several dedicated religious channels such as Astha, Sanskar, God TV, Peace TV that telecast spiritual or religious sermons. One can see the pamphlets, the billboards, placed around the city informing the visit of some or other spiritual leader. During festive season, you may encounter crowded streets and markets. In fact, roadside is a religious theater or a discotheque where people organize, bring out procession, sing and dance. And this is also a fun also. Sometimes religions get hostile of others and indulge in violence. And often this religious violence is planned and well organized. Interestingly, all these religious acts take place in the city. In fact, some cities for a long time in history developed and grew due to presence of strong influence of religion. For example, Ajmer, Madurai, Tirupati, and so on. A few towns have grown around popular gurus such as Puttaparthi, developed around Satya Sai Baba, or Shirdi has grown around medieval mendicant Sai Baba. In recent times, we can observe the growth of highly organized temple complexes in cities like Delhi, and you see the temples like Akshardham in Ahmedabad as well also. So these cases are not very specific to India only. In fact, cities such as Chicago or New York are dominated by various religious buildings. These are a few variegated examples that illustrate how religion exists, operates, and dominates in urban life, and how people associate and imagine religion in urban areas. Therefore, we may begin to ask, how does secular and religious exist together in cities? How does religion unfold and fuse with commerce, media, and politics? What is the relationship between religion and urbanization? What happens to religious life of people when they migrate from villages to cities or to other towns or to other cities? Are the city gods different from the ones worshipped in rural areas? Does religion operate differently in cities and the villages? How has religion been imagined, and how do we place religion in metropolitan cities and towns? What is the significance of religious buildings for different religious communities in urban areas? What kind of contestation do we encounter around religious processions and festivals in the cities? And these are a few questions to begin an exploration of religious life, practices, places, and formation of communities in the city. Therefore, this module looks at a few important themes that are necessary to understand relations between cities and religions. In the coming sections, we would discuss how religion was discussed and imagined by the theorists of modernity. Here in this section, we will look at the idea of secularization and analyze secularization thesis in the light of changing dimensions of religions in the cities. Further, we will look at some of the important aspects of religion in contemporary times that makes us reconsider the ways social science has imagined religion in the cities. We will also take up cases of religious innovations from Europe, America, and South Asia to investigate the relationship between religion and urbanization. Lastly, we will take cases from India and discuss how religion has been a persistent feature of Indian cities and how under global capitalism, commercialization of religion has been made possible. We would also discuss how media, politics, and economy have intertwined with religion and given a new lease of life to religion. Historically, urban centers had been a fertile ground for the emergence and expansion of religions. In India, if you look at the history, you will find several cults, sects, and religions, especially Buddhism and Jainism, essentially originated in urban centers. Rodney Stark interestingly showcases how Christianity in Europe largely remained an urban movement. As we have discussed in the introduction, religion in Indian cities have a profound effect on people, and it intertwines well with economy, technology, media, and politics. It has to be recognized that religion exists and operates much against the wishes of the modern thinkers, be it Voltaire or Marx. Modern thinkers considered religion as an important theme and also predicted the future of religion. It was argued that with the progression of modernity, religion and its dominance on institutions like politics or economy would be reduced. It was further argued that a secularism will lead to secularization of society, by which effects of religion will gradually be removed from the society. Modern social theorists, guided by their conviction and preoccupation with the idea of evolution and progress, suggested a marginal role for religion in modern society. Though most of the social theorists argued for secularization of society, but we do not find any unified thesis of secularization in the works of classical theorists. For Marx, religion was the source of many societal ills, which would be removed once perfect communist state is established. Durkheim looked at religion very differently. He also proposes that religion as a binding force would decline as society progresses. Weber argued that the application of scientific and objective knowledge, rationality, and bureaucratic development, religion's effect in the society would decline. At the very heart, for almost all the classical thinkers of modernity, that as the society modernizes, urbanized, and progresses, religion's social effect would decline in the society. This is what one can call the early phase of secularization thesis. In a profound and influential explanation, Brian Wilson argued that secularization is about the decline of social significance of religion. For Brian Wilson and Carol Deborah, secularization moves at three levels. One, secularization at societal level, secularization at organizational level, and secularization at the personal level. Among the most influential defenders of secularization thesis, Steve Bruce combines Durkheimian idea of individualization and Weberian thesis of rationalization and argues that secularization is still operative in modern society. He supports his secularization thesis based on decline in church attendance, significance of religion in Christian weddings and baptism rituals. Secularization thesis remained influential in understanding the place of religion in modern society and cities in particular till very recently, when scholars began looking at empirical facts that goes completely opposite of what had been suggested. Peter Berger, who initially argued for the secularization thesis, changed his theoretical position and suggested that the world today, with some exceptions, is as furiously religious as ever. We see religion operates in varied forms, and that is from religious fundamentalism to new religious movement to new age movements with their mix and match religiosity and something like bricolage, cyber religiosity and spirituality and so on. As Rowena Robinson writes, the last decade or so of globalization resurrected all the old debates of modernization. In a global economy and culture, would the world be likely to end up looking more and more similar? Further asked, will the modernist dream of one world, one market, and one culture ever materialize? Or, as seems far more likely, does globalization promote particularistic identities of various kinds, enabling them to be projected onto a larger map facilitated by modern communication technologies? Robinson further asserts that the trajectory of development has shifted enormously, and religion is playing a much more important role that has been imagined. The emergence of various sects and new religious movements across religions emphasize the resurrection power of religion. So if Weber proclaimed secularization of the world, then the recent theorists such as Harvey Cox in his book The Secular City claimed that religion will not exist in society at all. Many also accepted at the face value the testimonies of 19th century urban observers who recorded religion's demise without questioning the narrative stance of these earlier interlocutors. In the recent times, religion in urban areas has flourished, expanded, and imaginatively intertwined with commercial culture, politics, media technology, advertisement, and so on. Rather than declining in influence, religion in cities are reinvented and made a part of urban living. For social scientists, cities are places where modern institutions, values, technology, scientific rationality would flourish and thereby remove intolerance, ignorance, and vices of the religious traditions. Therefore, modern cities were conceived to promote secular culture. While for the religious groups, cities are the sites that perpetuates immoral and irreligious people. In conceiving so, modernist as well as religious groups negated each other. For example, for Mircea Eliade, urban religion is the remnant of pure religiosity. It is interesting to note that the modern cities definitely promoted secularity, but at the same time, cities also offered fields, tools, and methods that promoted flourishing of religion. In sum, secular and religious do coexist in cities, which Susan Silomovics showcases in her research about parades of South Asian Muslims in New York City. She describes how religious and secular motifs mix properly in New York. The same mixing of secular and religious can be discerned by looking at religious places, celebrations, processions, festivals that exist amidst the busy urban spaces. Cities provide a great space and tool for the emergence as well as perpetuation of religion in urban places. Jose Casanova argued that most of the world religions, that is Christianity, Islam or Buddhism, they all originated in cities. In India, as elsewhere, cities often were centers of religious cosmologies, religious learning and religious experimentation. Despite such deep relation between religion and urban, modernists denounce the presence and flourishing of religion in urban centers. This imagination also has its bearing in the Western European conceptions of modernity and religion. As Peter van der Veer argues, Religion in its modern universal sense is a 19th century concept and has a deeper genealogy in Western thought. However, one can argue that religions can be modern and urban at the same time. We cannot deny that religions do not produce or instigate unrest or riots or violence, but it is also needed to recognize that religions in city also produce spaces and create new communities, friendship, solidarity, and conviviality. This is especially demonstrable in the case of migrants, where urban spaces are used to recreate religious solidarities and communities. During the last couple of decades, various dimensions of religion in urban spaces have been explored, and our knowledge about relationship between city and religion has deepened extensively. Gigi and Winston discuss how American cities have often demonstrated a strong presence of religion in the urban space. Of late, scholars have reported vivid, polychromatic, lively aspects of religion in the modern cities. Robert Orsi in The Gods of City and Tony Kahns in The New York Glory have focused on religion in city. And both the collections reveal what previously had been hidden in plain sight. That is, amidst the urban cacophony, believers transform cityscapes into religious vistas. There are several movements in America, such as Salvation Army, that used urban courts for women to break with the conventional roles of domesticity, and they also gained access to spaces and activities that were dominated by the male. While many other religious movements used urban commercial culture and advertisement to make Christianity more secular. As Brian Turner argues that in modern society, religion has been commodified as well as commercialized, which attracts the attention of an upwardly mobile middle class. In India, one can see that under the aegis of spiritual gurus, particularly in Hinduism, is developing as a business model, and that is suitable for the new liberal age and economy. Several studies look at the intertwining of religion and commerce. Lawrence Moore's Selling God, Leigh Smith's Consumer Rights, Jeremy Carrett's Selling Spirituality, Mara Einstein's Brands of Faith, and Daromir Rudnijik's Spiritual Economies are a few important studies that look at commercial aspects of religion in contemporary times. Similarly, in India, Smriti Srinivas and Tulasi Srinivas, in their distinctive studies on Satya Sai Baba, who is one of the most studied spiritual leaders in the post-colonial Hinduism, show how urban built environment, urban sensorium, architecture, and mobilities help establishment of religious life in contemporary society. Smriti Srinivas holds that for many individuals, neighborhoods and communities, urban life includes locating and grounding modernity, and that is the sacred and faith in one single space. Similarly, Maya Warrior studies a recent transnational woman guru, Mata Amritanand Mai. For Warrior suggests that the simple views of Mata attracts her urban middle class followers who seek relief from the stress and strain of their modern life. It is interesting to note that religion in city offers experimentation, transformation, as well as adaptation. The recent emergence of various spiritual leaders who may not belong to established groups create newness in religion that enchants the followers. They offer methods and techniques of prayers that are need-based and potentially solves specific problems. So let us see how the involvement of media and entertainment has given a scope for spiritual creativities that have enabled the spiritual gurus to attract more and more people in their groups. These groups have also been seen bringing in transformation in religions, prayers, architectures, and donations that again has potential to attract more and more people in their group. However, it should not be considered that the spiritual gurus are crafting such methods. Rather, this has been a trajectory of religion across space and time. Historically, one of the reasons why people were attracted towards Jainism or Buddhism because these religions offered something novel, something like the issues of caste questions or the position of women, and that were very, very important, which was not existent in Brahminical Hinduism. In the course of such shifts, a lot of practices transform and new methods are adopted. David Leon, in his book Jesus in Disneyland, explores how religion in the West is flourishing in multifarious forms. He explores how secular and religion has been mixed in contemporary religious cultures and illuminates religion's relationship with consumerism, advertisements, popular culture in Pentecostal groups, New Age religions, and so on. He also examines how religion is related with cyberculture, religious identity, and new quest for meaning in religious practices. In India, various studies have focused on the urban form of religion. John Punjo Waghorn, in a study of Hinduism, highlights the importance of temples and how temples in the city have mushroomed in the recent times. She compares the construction and transportation of Hindu gods by urban middle class and shows similarities with the wave of construction of new churches, new mosques, and new synagogues in Washington, D.C. and London. So illustrates the link between ritual and worship, religious structures, modern economy, and the influence of the great middle class. Uma Kalpagam explores the mushrooming of roadside temples in Chennai. However, for such rampant construction of temples offers insight into secularism of society. This is the kind of argument she makes. Similarly, she says that the physical movement of gods from one place to another has created interesting avenues through which communities develop and organize at different places. Taking the case of Singapore, Vinita Sinha in her study of Muneeswaran Temple offers vivid portrayal of Hinduism. The god Muneeswaran is a new insertion in Hindu pantheon among Singaporean Hindus. Though the god had localized appeal but remained neglected for a long time, for over more than 175 years in Singapore, which has been reinvented by the younger generations of Hindus in Singapore. In an interesting article by Shalini Kakkar, she shows how a fan named Pappu Sardar of Madhuri Dixit, a Bollywood film actress, has created a temple, organizes festivals, and created a community in Tatanagar. Pappu Sardar conducts puja for Madhuri's posters. He navigates the streets of Tatanagar in a Madhuri Rath, an open-air truck that is adorned with defeat posters of a star, while thousands participate in this divine festivities by chanting Madhuri Dixit ki Jai. So it is now important to recognize that religion has got a new lease of life by appropriating tools and methods of modern society. At one end, we see emergence of several new religious groups such as Pentecostals, New Age movements, spiritualism, and yoga, and they're developing outside the established religious institutions. On the other, we also observe how religious groups are coming up with innovative techniques and methods that makes religion convenient, fun, colorful, sanitized, less demanding, and enchanting. There are innovative uses of popular media technologies and popular culture materials in religious groups. At the same time, we also see how new temple complexes are developing and using popular memories and contemporary architecture that displaces chaotic experiences of the city. The middle class has been a good ground for the incursion of new religious cults and spiritual telegurus. Modern guru cults could also be referred as religio-cultural because they implicate more than spirituality. The spiritual gurus command how to live, what to eat, and what to dress, and how to manage the affairs of living and working in contemporary society. The spiritual telegurus assert that people have forgotten their real self and engaged in materialistic life. According to them, this has produced stress and strain in life, reduced Interpersonal relations, moral values have diminished from the family, and sexual feelings have increased. The spiritual gurus associate it with urban ways of living and assert that improper food habit, improper day schedule, visiting to clubs, pubs, and bars have produced anxiety, fear, and health issues such as diabetes, coronary failure, blood pressure, arthritis, asthma, allergies, and insomnia. They suggest techniques not only to improve health but also to create positive vibrations for happiness in family. The middle class who encounter a stressful living in contemporary city is also engaged in various such practices, and there is a dependence on spiritual to value material as well. This becomes more evident from the images, texts, discourses, advertisements of self-care products. The middle class, they not only visit spiritual gurus but also purchase, consume, and gift items that are considered to bring happiness, health, prosperity, and positive vibrations at home or in life also. The increasing presence of contemporary Hindu spiritual gurus in urban India and a huge cultural market that creates hope for healthy, happy, and prosperous life, well-being, and that promises to achieve aspirations could also be understood as consumption and lifestyle practices. And in this way, we can say that religion is not declining at all in the city. Rather, it has intertwined with specific things like technology, politics, economy, and so on. So let us summarize what we have learned in this module. We have learned that there are a variety of ways in which religion appears and exists in the city. In fact, the urban atmosphere provides efficient tools for religions to perpetuate. We also noted that religion in the city offers experimentation, transformation, as well as adoption of new rituals, techniques, and traditions. We also saw that, much against the proclamations of modern thinkers, religion has got a new lease of life. The claim of the modernists seem to fail in detaching the religious nature of man. The secularization thesis of modernity is now being considered to have gone to the graveyard of failed theories. The privatization of religion has remained nothing more than a historical fact. The secularization has made part of a powerful social and historical narrative of what had been and now was ceasing to be. In the West, scholars have argued that for the resurgence or reappearance of religion that questions the basic premises on which the theory and thesis of secularization was erected. In fact, in the recent spate of violence, certain religious communities are targeted and attacked. The emergence of groups like Taliban, ISIS, or Hamas have religious ideologies but guided by their conviction. And that's like the political conviction also. So it is undoubtedly an unwelcoming situation, but one needs to explore the connections between world religions and the political ideologies. In contemporary times, religion has properly been commodified and commercialized, and often the consumers are the urban middle class. The perpetuation of several dedicated religious channels, audio and video of religious sermons and songs, palmistry, astrology, feng shui, and several other items are on the market and they are consumed properly. There are innovative uses of popular media technologies and popular culture materials in religious groups. At the same time, we also see how new temple complexes are developing and using popular memories and contemporary architecture that displaces chaotic experiences of the city. Lastly, we need to pay more attention towards religion and develop new insights in order to understand the operation of religion in contemporary times. Thank you.